Hello, I'm Tom Nutt. I'm Chief Executive of Healthwatch Essex. Healthwatch Essex is a small independent charity here in Essex, and we undertake research and public engagement work to try and understand what it's like to be a user of health and social care in Essex. We then use this so-called lived experience to try and improve services for everyone. We know that lived experience can have transformative power within the world of health and social care. And a really great example of this is the story of Tommy Whitelaw.
Thank you, and thank you for the kind introduction.
Tommy was a carer for his mum who had dementia. And it's through understanding his story that we can really get a sense of what it really means to be a carer for someone with such a difficult condition.
Today's talk will be a really personal experience. And I know that within a room which is full of many professionals, that people will have a personal experience. By the numbers, that one in three of us across the UK will have a family member, a neighbour or a friend who is living with dementia or has lived with dementia.
Working with Broomfield Hospital in Chelmsford, Healthwatch Essex wanted to bring Tommy down to talk to health and social care staff about his experience caring for his mum. We found that his story was so transformative in challenging and inspiring staff to think about their everyday practice and about the importance of listening to patients and carers that we really wanted Tommy to share his story with you.
I would really encourage you to watch this film because Tommy's passion is so contagious. I believe it will really inspire you to want to see the person with dementia and who they really are, and also to want to be that person that makes the difference between helping our patients live well with dementia or allowing them to suffer with dementia.
Within healthcare, we spend a lot of time trying to understand the patient's experience and understanding the perceptions of the care they receive within our services. Tommy's experiences really demonstrate the power of listening to a patient's story, which can inspire innovations in care that we didn't realise were necessary to change.
Tommy's core message is one of kindness. How you could be that one person on that one day that could really make a difference. He has taught us all how to re-engage with the reason we came into healthcare in the first place.
I think living well with dementia is the same as living well. It should be unique to the individual. I think sometimes we try and bring a title and bring some rules along with things, and absolutely we have to have guidelines. But I think living well with dementia has been recognised as an incredible, unique life story that you have, that you're living. But really in personalising it to what really matters to that person and who really matters. I think they're building blocks, and they're the building blocks to allow everyone to have an opportunity to live well.
Yeah.
When I first came back to visit my mum, we used to go to the shops together on a Saturday. And my mum would put all these things in her basket. She'd been putting them in there for 20 years. The same deodorant, the same T-shirts, the same cereal, the same yogurts, because they mattered to her. They were part of her story. And when my mum could no longer go to the shops on a Saturday and I had to go myself, I made sure I picked them up every single week because they were unique to my mum. They mattered to her. Well, I think firstly, they're people, aren't they? And they're unique and they're remarkable. And I think it's just taking a little bit of time to get to know them. I think find out what matters to that person. It's one of these things we keep trying to redesign and we keep giving headings and titles to. But the only way to find out is to take a little bit of time to find out somebody's story. That's what all our relationships, and I think taking a little bit of time to engage and listen to the person, or if it's a wider family community, the family or the carer, because there's a story that they can help you with that will allow that relationship to start and flourish. But after the second and the third year, as dementia was doing everything in its power to affect my mum's greatness, never in my heart or my head or in my eyes, but absolutely to affect her greatness. To affect her being recognised as Joan Whitelaw anymore. Too often in situations and circumstances we'd been in many times before in life, now being described as a wee woman with dementia. Or you have to go and see the woman in that bed, she has dementia, or here is, or there is, or that's the wee woman with dementia here. But that wee woman had a name and a life and a love story within her and standing holding her hand. And becoming isolated from a community that my mum was born in and grew up in and went to school in and got her first job in and fell in love in and get married in and brought her children up in. But the most difficult was the look in my mum's eyes as I was walking away from her, because I was the person she recognised. And people used to say, no, it's really good, you can go and get a good sleep just now. And I think we almost pigeonhole or assume that's what people will do. The last thing I did was sleep. Now, sometimes, absolutely, that can really help people because they need a rest. But most of the time, for me personally, I'm sitting in the house worrying, are they giving my mum a drink? Do they know my mum likes sitting that way? Do they know my mum's scared of if 3 or 4 people around the bed at once, it will frighten my mum? And I would have liked to have spent more time to do those little things that would have allowed nurses to do other things that were maybe quite important to other people.
How can you live well with dementia if moment after moment you're frightened, you're scared, you're vulnerable?
Yeah.
And I think those are the moments we as health professionals got to change that.
Well, I think one of the things that we stop in descriptions, and newspapers are terrible for it, so we call people sufferers all the time. Yeah. And the only way to get around, and we have to change the language. Language is key to this. How we engage with each other, and I think that goes part to working with each other and our colleagues. If we hear certain languages that aren't appropriate,
we challenge it.
It's an opportunity to challenge it, because it's uncomfortable to hear it. And it actually changes the direction of care, because if more people keep using the wrong language, that's it. That
perpetuates
it does, doesn't it? So it distances you from the person, and it distances you from what it all really means. So I think
puts people in a negative box.
It puts people in a negative box, absolutely.
Because in my experience, Tommy, I've observed that over the years and the changes we've seen over the way we provide care for people with dementia, and I've been in handovers many years ago now, but it's improved significantly here, where I've heard a really negative handover, and we're absolutely convinced that shapes the care that people receive. If they get a negative description of a person before they've met them, that will impact negatively on the care that's provided to them. So I think that is something we're all striving towards, is to ensure that we use appropriate, courteous, respectful language for all of our patients, including people with dementia. And that in itself will help to facilitate a better understanding and promote a higher standard of care.
In trying to get some help one day, someone wrote on a clipboard that they thought my mum was quite challenging. And I think it's a dreadful word to use. I think we have to be careful about how we discuss each other, our colleagues, and absolutely the people that we care for. If I say to you that that person in that ward or that bed or that house or on that phone is challenging, you'll probably walk towards them expecting to be challenged. But if I explain to you that that person's just really scared of all the things that are happening within, around and beside them, I absolutely know that one way or another you'll go towards them, and one way or another you'll put your arms around them and find out what is making you scared today and what can we do to take that fear away. My mum was quite fearful. In the last couple of years, it was one of the things that, with my mum's dementia, that came along. So she was frightened of a lot of people around her, and that natural instinct that we say that someone has dementia and we lean over and we shout, but they're not deaf. And we have this automatic way of approaching in a different manner. And my mum was frightened, so I was trying to encourage people that if you spoke, although my mum's hearing wasn't great as well, but as long as you didn't approach her in that way and you took a wee bit of time and you gave her a smile, what you'd get in return for that is the most beautiful smile you have ever saw in your life. But on the kitchen table was this mass of correspondence. Letter after letter after letter of fights and arguments and disagreements with the hospital about the care or lack of care for someone's mum, for their mum. 157 letters in total of an argument. And I don't think it takes 157 letters to care for someone. I don't think it takes 157 letters to get it right or wrong. I think it just takes for you and I to care for and about each other. I think it just takes for you and I to care for and about the people we live beside, we work beside, we're sitting in this room beside, and that we've made a promise to play our part in caring beside. I think that's what it takes.
Sometimes as a caring profession we can, not knowingly, but sometimes shut out relatives. It's almost as if we think we know best, and rather than taking the time, some of the things you mentioned in your talk, you know, the little things that the carers or nurses wouldn't necessarily know, you know, it's really touching, and, you know, I think we really need to bear that in mind.
My mum, we went everywhere together, and we were out in the garden one day, and my mum fell over and tripped over the little trim round the garden, and at that point my mum's reaction wasn't to put her hands out to protect her fall, so she kind of fell straight over and hit her head on the little curb. And we rushed my mum to the hospital. I got a taxi round, and my mum hadn't reacted. She hadn't, but her head was cut there, and she had a massive big bump. And we got to the A&E, and we stood there, and I was trying to speak to them about my mum. And they were starting to ask my mum questions like, do you know what day it is? Do you know you're in a hospital? And I tried to speak to them about it, and they said, oh, it's a head injury, we must ask these questions. And I said to them, but my mum didn't know what day it was before she fell and banged her head. Maybe if you asked me, I could tell you if there's any change in my mum. And it was a dreadful moment. I was handed a leaflet on head injuries and told I should sit down because they knew what they were doing. And my answer to that is, you might have known what you were doing, but you know absolutely nothing about my mum, and you're moving away the person who knows everything that can help you here. And I took my mum by her hand that day to go to a social work department in a health centre. And I cried the whole way there on the bus because I really didn't know what to do anymore. And I cried walking from the bus to the health centre, and cried walking through the front doors to the reception desk. And asked if someone could please get my mum the help she needed, she deserved, and as families we are promised. But I was told you can't just walk in here. You have to make an appointment. If you look behind you, all those people had the courtesy and the decency to make an appointment before they came today. And I stood there crying and asked again. I was then handed a little post-it sticker with an 0800 number on it, and told if we really wanted help, we should go home and call this number and make an appointment to see someone. And we walked out there that day with less chance, less hope, less belief, less understanding, and absolutely less kindness than we walked in. And that's not why we build such buildings. That's not why there's rooms full of incredible people who get up every single day to work in such buildings. I hope we build them to be understanding and take time to listen. And at every occasion we wrap it up with kindness. It's really important to be kind to the people we work beside, we live beside, we're sitting in this room beside, and that every one of us has made a promise that we'll play our part in caring beside. I think kindness is the key. I found it's something when we put as well, we put, you know, and this is just my own person, we put like dementia friendly. Let's make it friendly. I mean, that's the heart and soul of it. If we're really going to look at people and get to know them for everything and how remarkable they are, it's friendly communities, it's friendly environment, isn't it? Because we have to make it friendly for everyone, because if it doesn't work for everyone, it has an effect on everyone else who's in that room. That's the two key questions to me, is what matters to that person and who matters. And if you start with those two bits, wrap it up with a bit of kindness, you'll find out the story and you'll find out the opportunities, and in whatever way you want to describe it, the tools, the guidance, the knowledge, the support to truly, truly care for people. And about 5.5 months later, a wee letter popped through my door one morning. And it was one of the most beautiful and glorious and kind and amazing letters you could ever wish to read. It was full of joy and admiration and thanks. From the same two sisters, about the same mum, and even about the same hospital. Same mum, same hospital, same two sisters. And the only difference in this one absolutely beautiful letter and the 157 on their kitchen table that day was one single person. A different consultant. Same mum, same hospital, same sisters in the hands of a different person. And I think he's incredible. I think that's a remarkable person to be. I think that's a brilliant person to be that can turn a table full of tragedy back into a love story. I think that's an amazing person to be that can take time to include and listen to a family and find out who they have been and who they are and who with his support they still have the opportunity to be. He's one of the many reasons why I'm doing this tour, and it's called You Can Make a Difference. And I hope that's who you are. I hope no matter what your role or no matter what part you play, that's who you are. I hope it's who you were yesterday to the people whose beds you may have sat beside, whose front doors you may have walked through, or you may have spoken to on the phone. I hope it's who you want to be today, and I truly hope it's the part you want to play tomorrow. Because without you, we crumble. And without you, we fall. And without you, so often we have nowhere to go. So I encourage you to get up every single day and play that part that started from inside your heart.